This is the big one. People will lose everything on this reset, either through inaction, lack of knowledge, or an inability to understand the difference between currency and money, or shall I say debt and wealth. If you are not holding any wealth positions over the next reset, these will be very challenging times indeed. What we are watching is virtually a replica of March 6, 1933, when the Democrat President Franklin D. Roosevelt closed down the commercial banking system in a state of emergency because the common man had lost confidence in the currency of the day, which was the US dollar. When confidence is lost, people will look for anywhere and anything to store wealth. The problem is that when disaster strikes, the best time to prepare has already passed, which is why I have spoken about moving to hedged safe haven positions for the last 3 years. The problem for the middle class is not one of value now. It is one of time. We are out of time. Gold is skyrocketing. Whenever you see a shift in the gold price of this magnitude, what it tells you is something is horribly wrong with the currency system. Today, we saw Larry Fink from BlackRock, a $10.6 trillion asset fund, come out and tout the end of the world reserve currency, the US dollar. The US dollar has traded as the world reserve currency since 1944 under the Bretton Woods system. We abandoned that system in 1971. Since then, the US dollar has survived on military backing and as the petrodollar. Currencies are only as good as what you can purchase with them. They have no other value. 2025 is a pivotal year for a number of reasons. Firstly, the 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump, signed into life the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Bitcoin has a total mintage of 21 million and a market capitalization of just 2 trillion. If you compare that to physical gold, which is a tier 1 reserve asset of the central banks, gold has a 20 to 21 trillion dollar market capitalization. What we may be looking at is Bitcoin, the first digital asset in history to become a reserve asset. Donald Trump has signed into life more legislation than Franklin D. Roosevelt signed in 1933. Remembering that Roosevelt created the Securities Exchange Commission, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, signed into life the Glass-Steagall Act, which was the Banking Act of 1933, and of course the Gold Reserve Act of 1934. This was all done under something he termed the New Deal. The man in the street simply labelled it the Great Taking. This was because the safe haven asset of the common man, which was physical gold, was confiscated on April the 5th, 1933. But gold will not be confiscated on this monetary reset, for the simple reason that gold now has a spot price of over 3,000 US dollars. Under the United States Constitution, Fifth Amendment eminent domain clause, the United States Treasury in a confiscation would only pay $42.22 an ounce, which is the current book price for gold set in the August of 1973 by Richard Nixon. $42.22 is hardly an equitable trade for an asset that's currently trading at over 3,000 US dollars. This means that the United States Treasury cannot enact confiscation on physical gold. The question is, what will be lost here? Contrary to popular belief, this is not a standard economic cycle, nor is it a housing bubble. This is a complete value reset where all assets are repriced. If you were to understand that, you would leave fiat currencies in a heartbeat and transition to safe haven assets, physical gold, physical silver, and Bitcoin. If you choose not to do these things, then you are risking holding currencies within a fractional reserve lending institution known as a commercial bank. During the 1933 reset, the derivatives markets completely collapsed and 10,000 commercial banks were closed in the United States. Gold was confiscated on April the 5th, 1933, and by the January of 1934, it was illegal to trade gold. If the common man attempted to do so, he was charged with terrorism under Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917. Gold was not allowed to be traded again for the next 40 years after the legislation was overturned by the non-elected President Gerald Ford on the 1st of January 1975. At Beat the Reset, we can assist you to transition from debt-based positions into monetary positions. You can easily book a consultation via our online booking portal. In addition, we can also allocate you into physical monetary commodities and centralized and decentralized digital assets. These are simply the assets and positions that one requires in order to transition through this reprice. But remaining in fiat currencies, derivatives markets, real estate and superannuation, in my opinion, is not an option. As an author of 2 books and a third on the way, I highly recommend, if you are listening to this podcast, that you consider transitioning out of the debt system into wealth positions in safe haven assets. Make good choices.